Hi, my name's Alan Smith, and in this webcast, I'm going to take a quick overview of the functionality in Azure Machine Learning. It's the first in a series, and in future webcasts, I'll be exploring the functionality of Azure Machine Learning in more detail. Be aware that the Azure ML service is evolving, and new features are being constantly added. So in the Azure portal, in the Azure ML Demos resource group, you can see that we've got quite a few resources. And these are related to the Azure Machine Learning workspace. We'll talk in a bit more detail about creating these resources in the next webcast. So I can navigate to the Machine Learning workspace and click on this button to launch Machine Learning Studio. On the starter page, you can see that we've got a bunch of tutorials and links to creating resources and various notebook samples and so on. And down on the left-hand side, we've got these sections: Authoring, Assets, and Manage. We also get preview features appearing, so currently Models Catalog and Prompt Flow is in preview. In the Authoring section, I can navigate to Notebooks. And this is where I can work with Jupyter Notebooks to create the various experiments. This is an experiment I was doing with image classification with a birds database. And I've created a notebook here for data prep, and it's just a standard Jupyter notebook with Python code in there. The Automated ML section allows us to automate the machine learning process. And you can see that I've done various experiments here, looking at apartment price prediction with numerical data, and also the birds classification that was using image data. The designer allows us to create pipelines. And this is an example of a pipeline that I've created for birds classifications. You can see that this provides a visual flow of the machine learning jobs we're creating. We've got the data assets up here, and we can use these to train a model and then register a model with Microsoft Azure. Prompt Flow provides a nice way to be able to work with GPT models. It provides us with a graphical overview of the flow. We define the various inputs and the outputs, and we can also specify the prompts. In this example here, you can see that we've got a prompt that's evaluating answers and providing a percentage score of how accurate the answer is. And within Prompt Flow, if I click on these boxes, we can see the Python code that's being executed in those boxes. So here, we can see the code that's using that prompt to be able to compute the various scores. In the Assets section, we can manage all of the data assets that we're working with. The apartment price data asset is a tabular data set. And here we can explore this data set and see the various values of the columns. And we can also work with image data assets. This Birds Vision Train data asset contains images. So if I click on Explore, we can see that it contains a large number of images of different birds. This is the data set that I used when I was training the birds classification model. If I click on Jobs, you can see all of the jobs that I've been running in Machine Learning Studio. So when we create an experiment, we can run multiple jobs on that experiment. So if I look in the birds classification experiment, you can see that this run completed in 20 minutes. And if I navigate to the run, we can see how the pipeline has executed. So in the jobs section, if I go to apartment price regression, we can see that this instance of the experiment has completed in 42 minutes. The job name of Musing Egg was created by default. So if I browse to this job, we can go into the models, select this voting ensemble model, and we can see all the different statistics about how accurate the model is. We can also see an explanation of the model. And here it's showing the importance of the various features. So it's telling us that the area of the apartment in square meters is the most important feature, secondly followed by the date, the number of rooms, the address, and the monthly fee, and so on. This job was run with AutoML in Azure Machine Learning, and I'll be publishing a webcast on how we can do AutoML with tabular data later on in the series. The Pipelines section allows us to manage graphical pipelines. We've got the options of being able to publish these pipelines as endpoints, so we can invoke the pipeline using a REST-based service. When creating pipelines, we can create our own components. So here, for example, if I want a component for preparing data for the birds classification, I can create that component. The Environment section allows us to define environments for Azure Machine Learning. And this can be useful if you want to customize the environment for running our machine learning experiments or our machine learning endpoints. When I was working with Spotify Annoy to look at image similarity, by default the Annoy package won't be installed in the Azure ML images. So here in the context, you can see that I've got a Docker context. And I'm specifying here that during the pip install command, we're also going to install this particular version of Spotify Annoy. And this environment is used when I'm creating a compute instance for a job that's going to create a Spotify Annoy index. For publishing endpoints, you can see that I've got this Annoy API environment. And if you look in the context, you can see that I'm installing Spotify Annoy, and I'm also installing Flask and Pandas. And this is on top of the regular packages that are going to be installed by default. In the models section, we can see all of the models that I've created. This is an example of a bird's classification model. If I look in the artifacts section, here we can see the PT file that contains the PyTorch model that I was using for image classification. And when I was working with Spotify Annoy, I published a model that includes an Annoy index. So really models can be any type of file. It doesn't have to be a machine learning model. The endpoints section allows us to publish machine learning models as endpoints that can be consumed from other applications. So here I've got an image classification endpoint. So if I wanted to deploy the bird's classification model, I could click Add Deployment, select this particular model, set the configurations for the endpoint, and publish it. In the management section, we can manage the various compute instances and compute clusters that we can be using. So here I've got a DS11v2 instance, and this is just a standard instance, a CPU instance rather than a GPU instance, for doing things like general data processing. I've got the machine tier set to low priority, so it's only going to cost 4 cents an hour when I'm running this particular node. If I want to do work with a GPU, we can see that this compute instance has a Tesla V100. Again, this is running on low priority, which is only going to cost about 76 cents per hour. But it's a very powerful GPU that we're using, and quite a powerful machine. And running on low priority gives us about an 80% saving on the regular cost of these machines. We've got a monitoring section. This is currently in preview, and I haven't explored that functionality yet. We've also got data labeling. So if we want to create a data labeling project, we can manage it within Machine Learning Studio. One of the projects I'm experimenting with is looking at geolocating objects from drone footage. And this is a data labeling project that I'm using in that experiment. So what I'm doing is I'm tagging any swimming pools that appear within the various photos. This image is a frame from a video that's been taken from a drone. So what I need to do here is to label the image by drawing bounding boxes around the swimming pools. So I can mark those 2 bounding boxes and click Submit. In this image here we can see we've got a pool here and a pool here. And this one has a pool here and a pool here as well. Labeling can be a time-consuming process. You can see that I've completed 212. We've got 60 images that I've skipped because they didn't contain pools. And I've got 1,179 to go. The more images that we train here, the more accurate the model is going to be. So as you can see, there's quite a lot of functionality in Azure Machine Learning, and new preview features are being added constantly. And through this series, I'll be showing how we can work with the different functionality in Azure Machine Learning to be able to train models on different types of data sets, and also how we can work with prompt flow and GPT chat.